Yo, what's up, Zox fan? We're back with some more Etheria Restart. So we got a lot to get into today. We got the Khloros that was just dropped for the Grim Pursuit. And let me tell you, dude, this guy is actually pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie. I've had a ton of fun fighting this boss. Definitely not as crazy as Ringo, but I will say this is in-game, so your stuff has to be built, man. Like, you really do have to be prepared for this. And I want to make sure that for those that are, you know exactly what it is that's going to work, and really honestly why those things work. And talk about fast and slow too. So let's go ahead and let's dive right into it. I wanted to show you guys the main comp that I'm using right now. And my main goal, of course, based off of where my account is consistency, right? I feel like this team really does mirror what you really need to be counteracting in this boss. And then from there, you can shift into just kind of not really paying those things any mind when you have enough damage and the right setup and speeds to be able to negate those things. But I'm going to show you guys this run here. Now, what we have here is Viper, Yelly, Nymphonayel, and Lily. Of course, with the LD selector box, that's pretty good opportunity, you know, for you guys to maybe pick up one of these units you may be looking at. But as you can see, Viper is going to be stripping the immunity and speed down. Yelly is really important here because what Yelly is providing is actually a defense break, right? And that's something that a lot of players may miss, is that Khloros actually is a defense scaling boss. So if you aren't paying attention to that, then that's going to cook you. Attack break isn't going to be the thing that's really the important thing here. It's to speed down and a defense break. Now, with Nymphonayel, what she's bringing value with is the fact that she's applying her shield, which is forms of damage amp. And then on top of that, she's also then going to be providing you with immunity coverage. Now, the second turn that Khloros gets, he has the opportunity to actually petrify your entire team. You want to avoid that at all costs if you can help it, right? And this is why I feel like this team, through and through, is going to be providing you some of the more seamless coverage, just because it honestly negates that entire gimmick or mechanic in his kit, right? So it looks like we are now coming to the cusp of the end here. Boom, and that should be a good old-fashioned GG. Right? So granted, this team isn't going to be your sub 45 seconds. I mean, it's still a minute 20, 28 on average, but this team is what I would consider to be one of the more consistent teams currently that we've been able to find this early, right? Now, as far as the builds, before we get into anything else, I want to make sure I show you guys that. Starting off with Lily. Lily right now is plus 199. Again, as fast as you can get her, plus 180. I mean, wherever you can really get her, realistically, is going to be really honestly fine. I would definitely say Jackal Guard is a requirement for sure, because you're going to get that 3 turn of a speed up buff, which is really helpful in this fight. And then on top of that, again, just Swift Rush, Swift Smite is what we activated. You can go Swift Rush, Swift Raid. It doesn't really matter. Broken, right? You can see minimums are plus 9 on my rolls, which again, for what it's worth, it's just blue rolls, right? So 9 to 10, and then no gold or anything crazy. It's just all purple rolls and blue rolls, right? So it is achievable to get Lily that fast, because she's definitely a pretty fast character in the game. And then we only have a gold shadow dash or 13. That could be obviously much better. So yeah, that's really honestly where Lily is. When we're looking at Nymphonayel is pretty straightforward as well. She just needs bulk and speed. 157 is currently what we have her on, and that honestly is more than enough. Swift Rush, Swift Smite activated with HP, defense, and HP, just to give her that bulk. And then, of course, for the scaling of the shield itself, that's a really important thing too. And yeah, shell that we're running on her is Codex of Magic. So Swift Rush, Swift Smite, Shadow Dash with the Surge for HP, and then Dauntless to reduce some of that damage taken is what I currently have on her. We are also running, obviously, Yelly here. Again, your typical DPS build. I'm 5% off on the crit rate proc, which I kind of do want, right? You want that at least at 70%, because Yelly gives herself a 30% crit rate buff. 234 on the crit damage. And what I'm currently running here is crit damage, and crit damage. Definitely could just alternate that for a crit rate or an attack piece. Entirely up to you. I still feel like either way, you're going to get the kill. It's kind of what it is. I was doing this with a Swift Raid piece at one point before I realized I didn't have my Fury Edge activated. So then I went and did that, and yeah, now we're cooking. But of course, we have her on Revelation, Fury, Keen Eye, Fury Edge, overclocking with penetration, and of course, Blade of Consistency, which just makes it much easier for her to be able to get some of that light damage scaling there. And then lastly, we have the boy, the one and only Viper, which Viper is at plus 175. He obviously needs to be faster than the rest of the bunch outside of Lily, and that's mainly because he needs to strip, right? So 232 on the effect accuracy, and of course skill up investment wise, 554 is what I currently have him on because we want that speed in that first node. And then when we're looking at the modules here, we have him on Swift Rush, Swift Smite, effect accuracy, and effect accuracy. So yeah, that's what we currently got. And then we have him on a Codex of Magic. Right now with Swift Rush, Swift Smite, Shadow Dash is really the main thing we're really trying to get from him here. Dauntless does help, and then the amplification we don't really care about too much here, but that is currently what we have on him at the moment, right? So those are the builds. Now moving along, I wanted to, as promised, show you guys a much slower run. Now, unfortunately, I don't have all the pieces to the puzzle because we know how resources are in this game. You can only really do one or the other, really. But there are some individuals that actually already figured out how they could make a slower team that could work for this. And this, I got to shout out to Indiviz, which is consisting of a Viper, Doki Doki, Rahu, and a Fuchi. So we're going to watch this run because I want you guys to also see that it is possible. And the reason why I want to have this all in one video is because it normally gets thrown around like this boss is just super imbalanced and there's no way for you to be able to do it. Dude, there's literally dudes doing it with freaking Rahu. Which I would argue, in my opinion, I'm gonna be quite honest with you guys, I think Rahu is one of the best units in the entire game. This dude literally can do everything. Now, they're not even relying on their Viper even stripping right off of it, right? Like he just is there. But the main thing is that they went, instead of going for a defense down, they have a defense up. And the other thing that's really nice is that because the Doki Doki is here, that petrification, she literally auto counters it, really. And the nice thing too is that Rahu then also provides a defense break. This team comp is actually pretty insane because even though it's not the fastest, it does have innate things that you want. Like it has turn meter manipulation coming from the Moonlight, from the Doki Doki, and the Moonlight obviously is from Fuchi. You have Fuchi on the Fortissimo, so she's facilitating heals. Viper is going to be constantly giving you that defense up buff, and he can also nuke himself. So this is like a really insane setup. So yeah, and he's hitting like 31k on Golden Lion. Dude, I already know what I'm building my Rahu to do, dude. Like he's really insane. And look at this. So slow rolling him, but his team is not dying. The team is perfectly fine. Doki Doki just reapplied the backup data. So now if he gets another chance to actually to land his petrify, she's just gonna cleanse it all. That's the crazier thing. So yeah, this is pretty nuts. And they're still getting enough turns in to actually mitigate some of that soul binder, right? So that's another thing that's pretty huge. So all petrified countered because Doki Doki exists. Like Doki Doki is busted, dude. Yeah, this is busted, dude. So yeah, I don't want my videos to just be this emphasis on just like, hey, you got Lily, GG. I think yes, Lily is great and she can make things like much easier if you're trying to do things faster, but there are units like Doki Doki that literally facilitate slower setups. You just need the right DPS in the setup for you to be able to do that, right? So I'm going to show you guys the gear for that because I know some of you guys are going to be like, yo, Zox, bro, what was that, right? So on the Viper here, he has them at 122 on the speed, and then of course we have right here 222 effect accuracy on a bloodbath build. So bloodbath builds do work in PvE, by the way, guys. Right? And then of course not even activating the Strive of the Colossal Guard, but you just got the Swift Smite, right? And that's just for a little bit of speed so you don't rotate too far behind. But the bloodbath is definitely the most important thing because the problem is too, when you're trying to do a Swift Rush in a bloodbath, it's a 12-12 bonus. So it's a lot harder. It's like more specific. It's very, very specific, actually. You can't have any pieces be at 2. They all need to be at 3. And they also need to also be on the shell, too. Like, it's impossible to run that without them both being on the shell. But it is possible just to activate some Swift Rush and obviously some Bloodbath there, right? 1,300 on the defense, which is really important. Only 19,000 health, which is really, really good because you still are getting the defense up and, of course, the shield coming from Fuchi. So that ends up being really, really nice. Then, of course, on the Doki Doki, 180 on the Doki Doki is respectable. I mean, considering that nobody else is probably faster than that. 1,500 on the defense, or plus 1,500, I should say. Effect res built into her is 96. I mean, like I said, she to be honest, like, it can help. It does help, right? But he hits 3 times, right? Khloros hits 3 times, so you got to deal with that. Swift Rush, Swift Smite is the activation on Codex, so that you could actually have more opportunities to use your skill 3, because that's the first skill I think she actually does. So then with that, you're going to be basically stacking that backup data, which I think is actually on the backup right here. That's going to make it to where you're going to really be able to deal with those petrifications really well. And then as far as the main stat values, effect res, defense, because it doesn't really matter. And then they have another defense piece. They really seem to just be aiming for the speed. So Doki and Lily can kind of be built in that way because they don't really need a specific stat. They just need speed, where you can help it, right? So again, this Doki is pretty quick, but not faster than the Lily, which I would say that's something that most people could probably try to figure to do. You also then have the Rahu, right? The Rahu build is 200% on the crit damage, with 100%, almost, I would say. It's a 90%, 91% crit rate. And then the defense is only plus 1,100, and then the attack is plus 13. And on the amount of health you have is only, was that 2,300, right? Or no, 23,000, which is pretty good. And then this is on a Golden Lion. And for those of you guys that don't know what Golden Lion does, Golden Lion is every 2 times the host uses skill 1, the final damage will increase by 8% and it will stack up to 5 times. This also comes with a effect accuracy increase. And this is why this works so well. So Golden Lion paired up with Rahu in a much longer form fight, he's going to be hitting harder and he's going to be landing that defense break more consistently. So that's where this really comes into play, because if you look at the effect accuracy, it's only at 22%. So it's fairly low, right? So that ends up being really, really good. And that's where you kind of get that value there. But Bramble, Kenai, Fury Edge, excellent combination. And of course, the Kenai is going to ensure that you're getting that crit damage in the first instances are going to be increased respectively, 25%, 15, and 5%. And then, of course, the Bramble is going to make it to where you're getting that extra defense scale and then the 25% chance to counterattack off of the basic attack when you're hit, because it's going to happen. And then, you know, Fury Edge is providing extra crit rate, crit damage, right? Now, as far as the focus, you got on the bottom here, crit damage, crit rate, and crit damage, right? So very, very, very solid. And then last but not least, we have the Fuchi. The Fuchi is actually really good here, because what we currently have right now, and sorry guys, my family grouper is going off like crazy, but what we got right here is actually about 50k HP on Fuchi, 109 on the speed, and then 100 effect res on her. With a Cure, Evil Guard, Bloodbath build, of course, activating that Bloodbath. The reason why the Bloodbath is huge here is because that coincides with that defense up. It's just to prevent the nuking, right? Because the nuking is going to happen. You just have to tank through it, and that's essentially what they're doing here. And then, of course, with the Fortissimo, any excess healing is basically going to be shared, right? So that's something that will end up being like a huge extra additive to keep the team alive, on top of the shield, on top of the Moonlight, which is providing movement. There's so much value that Fuchi provides here. And then, of course, the only skill that's actually invested in on her is her skill 3. Other than that, she's a 1-1. Rahu is a 5-5-5, which, if respectively so, I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys, Rahu is a DPS. A lot of people that are using him heavily do have him max invested, even if they aren't using choices like Yelly or Lilium. Then for Doki Doki, she is also a 5-5. I guess we could also make the argument it's very similar to Lily. She's going to have 2 of her skills also invested at minimum. And then Viper is also maxed out. It really could be a 4-5-5, but max him out might as well, just in terms of lattice investment, right? So that is essentially a fast and a slow. Granted, those are 2 different setups with two different like layouts, one including Lily, the other one not. I think it's almost like with a lot of these comps, especially when we're talking about the units that provide some of the highest utility, you're always going to typically see a Lily. You're going to see a Doki Doki. You're going to see a Heinrich. You're going to see some of those units. But I definitely think that with like the slower comp, that's definitely something that for those that are lacking some of those faster speeds, but you have the ability to build into that bulk bloodbath. You have a Rahu. You can definitely make something like that work. So yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I feel like this again is a really fun boss. We have to wait though until we get some more news and information, and not even just news, but wait until we get the new units coming into the game, because then we'll actually be able to see how they work in this content. So yeah, guys, that's basically going to be that with this one. Everyone, stay blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.